What's up, guys? How's it going? Hope you're all doing well. If you're new to the channel, please hit the like and subscribe. And in today's video, I'm going to be talking heavyweight boxing and specifically the two heavyweight fights taking place on the Tyson Fury versus Makhmudov undercard on the big Netflix show this weekend. So you have Jeamie TKV versus Riakporhe, which I think is possibly, to me, the most intriguing fight on the whole card. I think this is going to be a very interesting fight. Maybe the most 50-50 of the fights on this card. I know it's not really a 50-50 fight. Richard Riakporhe is more of a favorite than that. But TKV, he's a crafty guy, and this is his first defense of his British title. So, in my opinion, it's a very interesting British domestic dust-up. Riakporhe, obviously, I think he's had one or two fights in the heavyweight division, and he's looked good so far in the heavyweight division. Obviously, coming up from cruiserweight, has a little bit of a speed advantage over most heavyweights, and he's a big puncher, especially with the right hand. And Jeamie TKV, obviously coming off of a very entertaining victory over Frazer, and a fight in which he won the British title in what was a very, like I said, entertaining and physical sort of slugfest between him and Clarke. I think Clarke got the game plan wrong in that fight. He came out very aggressively. I think, in his mind, after getting that first round or second round knockout victory over Teti, who was quite a durable journeyman, I think he thought he could blow Chikiva out as well early, and definitely underestimated Chikiva there and ended up just blowing his gas tank and ended up getting beaten up and quite badly and really almost stopped towards the end of the fight. But TKV just couldn't get the stoppage. He was also quite tired and was kind of just winging in sort of big sort of haymakers towards the end of the fight. I think if he had used his jab a little bit more towards the end of that fight, he probably would have got the stoppage there. However, he was very close, and that was a very brutal fight for Frazer Clarke. So it's going to be interesting to see his comeback now against Justis Huni. I think that's going to be. I think it's a bad comeback for him, to be honest. I think Huni might stop him in this fight. I think Huni has the speed advantage for sure. Both guys are more so boxers than punchers, but I think either man can hurt each other, as neither of the guys has a great chin, and we're in the heavyweight division, so everybody has enough power to hurt their opponent. But with that being said, like I say, I think Huni, also coming off of a loss in a fight in which he boxed really well. He was schooling Fabio Wardley and doing quite a number on him, beating him up pretty badly. However, he got clipped towards the end of the fight, and that was it. Also hasn't got the greatest of chins, but I do think he's obviously he is the younger and fresher of the two guys in this fight. I think he's about 26 or 27. Whereas Frazer Clarke, obviously turned pro late, much older of the two guys. So Huni is the fresher of the two. He is the faster of the two, and I think he definitely has the advantage in this fight. I would be favoring Huni to win this fight, and possibly by late stoppage. If not, I think he'll win on points. But like I said, with Frazer Clarke, he can box a bit, but in my opinion, in that TKV fight, he came out with the wrong game plan. He tried to just big man TKV and try to blow him out early, went to the body early, wasted a lot of energy in that fight. And TKV ended up being the better of the two on the inside as well. Now, I picked TKV to win that fight at 4-1 as an underdog, but it wasn't the way I expected him to win. I actually thought, we were going to see him sort of box more on the back foot using his jab and his movement. He wasn't able to do that because of the heavy pressure Frazer Clarke put on him early. Clarke sort of just bulldogged forwards, took away TKV's jab, and made it an inside fight. But like I said, wasted a lot of energy early in that fight, ended up running out of gas. The fight was quite even in the first 6 rounds, but the back half of the fight, TKV took over. He was, the fitter of the two and the better on the inside. And like I said, almost stopped Frazer Clarke in that fight. That was not a good fight for Frazer Clarke's health, in my opinion. It really sort of got ugly towards the end. But yeah, like I said, so TKV, he can fight a bit on the inside. He can move a bit as well. He's got a pretty good jab. He's got a nice counter left hook for that catch and shoot as well. So TKV, probably an underrated guy. I think, he might be able to sort of win a European title, but I don't see him being a sort of a world level heavyweight, but he's a decently well-rounded fighter. He's very crafty, can kind of punch, can box a bit, can fight on the inside, so he can kind of do it all. However, Richard Riakporhe, in my opinion, has obviously the more power out of the two, and this is the heavyweight division. So you've got to be able to punch, and Riakporhe can certainly do that with the right hand. So in this fight, I wouldn't be surprised if TKV is sort of nicking a few rounds behind that jab. I think he's gonna use his movement, sort of maybe like the Adelaide fight, look to box behind that jab, look to use a little bit of movement. But at some point, I do think Richard Riakporhe will line him up and nail him with that right hand. Like I said, Riakporhe, also a guy that's in tremendous shape, coming up from the cruiserweight division, which is a very tough division. And I think he will have the edge over quite a few heavyweights in terms of his conditioning, in terms of speed. His right hand is pretty sudden, and I do think he will land it at some point on TKV and knock TKV out. But like I say, it's a very interesting fight in my opinion, and I think TKV, he's a live underdog in this fight, but I do expect Richard Riakporhe to come out victorious via knockout. Um, but I think this is the most interesting fight on the card. And yeah, looking forward to this card as a whole, guys. Let me know what your guys' thoughts are in the comment section below. That's how I see these two fights playing out. Thanks for listening. Talk to you guys again soon. Cheers.